Okay, we are going ahead and going to call the meeting to order at 6 p.m. Love seeing such a full house. So many friendly faces. Usually there's nobody here. So would you please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? Thank you. And we will move to our student and staff recognition.
Good evening, members of the Board of Education, Dr. Whipke, and members of the Ladue School community. I came to learn about our student honoree for tonight's meeting because of the love, care, and the time that her teacher invested in nominating her for a very unique real-world learning experience. And because she's here tonight, I think it would only be appropriate for me to invite our 2024 District Teacher of the Year, Dr. Ashley Locke, to please come forward and to help me with this student recognition. Dr. Locke?
Thank you so much. Well, I'm just going to face this student because I love all of you, but I want to say a few words to Zoe. It's my absolute honor to congratulate Zoe as Missouri's recipient of the National World War II Museum's Billy Michael Student Leadership Award. That is a mouthful, but Zoe is only one of 51 students across the country who has been named as a recipient of this award. And it's named for a young man named Billy Michael, who during World War II was a 6-year-old from Zimmerman, Louisiana. And he helped his tiny one-room schoolhouse win a statewide scrap metal collection contest. So if you're familiar with World War II, we're saving everything. And he was 6 years old, one room, and he still outworked everyone. So Billy understood that even the smallest citizen could contribute to something greater than themselves. And his example inspired a national legacy of student service that continues to this day. And Zoe has taken that same spirit and multiplied it 100-fold, I think. In October of 2024, Zoe co-founded Empower Ed, bringing career building opportunities to low-income students in St. Louis. And she raised over $1,000 in donations and engaged 70 community participants and introduced 100 students to the trades industry, all while the rest of us were busy deciding what we were gonna have for lunch. She also maintains a perfect 4.0 GPA, holds a part-time job, competes at the state level in speech and debate, and volunteers to teach her peers. I've been in education for years, and I genuinely cannot figure out how Zoe fits all of this into one day, because the rest of us have 24 hours. And somehow, Zoe, if you ever have extra time just laying around, please share how you do it, okay? But what moves me most about Zoe is not a single accomplishment. I've had the honor of teaching her for 2 years, and it's her character that really stands out. Her genuine belief that her gifts exist not just for herself, but for others, sets a wonderful example for her peers and for our district. And that part isn't funny, it's just really remarkable, Zoe. This June, Zoe will travel to New Orleans to represent all of us at the National Awards ceremony, and knowing Zoe, she'll probably organize a community service project while she's there. So, Zoe, we could not be prouder. Congratulations, you've earned every bit of this.
Stay here. Zoe, would you please come forward? Zoe May. Dr. Locke, please join me. Since Zoe's family is here, I would like to invite them to join us, please, for photos. Everyone this way.
She was mine first.
I'll go right ahead. Let's give Zoe another hand and also applaud her parents and her wonderful teacher, Dr. La. Next, I'd like to invite Dr. Crabtree to come forward with our staff recognition.
Ladue has a rich tradition of honoring excellence in education. Every month at our Board of Education meetings, we honor those in education that show up daily, selflessly giving their all in service to their students. There is no harder job than that of a teacher. Therefore, it is no small feat when a teacher's actions go so above and beyond to garner the respect of their peers. Tonight, we are pleased to recognize Kevin Hyman, fourth grade teacher at Spady Elementary School. Mr. Hyman has served as a building and district leader in multiple capacities during his tenure in Ladue. The video will highlight why Kevin was selected for this deserving award. Immediately following the video, Spady's principal, Mr. Isaac Bjork, will share more about Kevin and his contributions to our school community.
Share that, please share that. Teach me. Ariana just had a brilliant idea. Ariana, share.
It's my pattern.
Kevin is currently a fourth grade teacher here at Spady. He's been on fourth grade for the last couple of years. Before that, he was a third grade teacher at Spady. He is one of our Spady OGs. He's been here for almost a couple of decades. When I started my career as a fourth grade teacher here at Spady, Kevin was a third grade teacher. So it's been an amazing experience to get to kind of grow alongside of him in our careers.
The thing that he does well that I admire about him is the relationships that he builds with students. They are always at the forefront of his mind. And you can tell that by just being in his classroom space, that not only does he know his kids, but they know him as well.
He has this virtue of patience with his students, and not only does that help to build their trust, but I really feel like it helps meet their needs.
I think there's no greater compliment that you could give a teacher to say that any and every student who walks in the doorway of their classroom is seen and valued for who they are. And without a doubt, any student every year who walks into Kevin's classroom is seen and valued for who they are.
Well, the next thing that comes to mind about Kevin and how he builds those relationships with students is our staff spirit days. He always is in 100%. I personally make it a point to go see him on staff spirit day to check out his outfit. And I think the students, that helps connect with them, you know, and they know they can count on him to be showing school spirit, so they're gonna jump right in and join in too.
Kevin has his hand in a lot of different mechanics around the school, and I don't even think people even realize that he is kind of part of that orchestration that happens.
I know Kevin has to put in countless hours to fulfill the leadership roles that he has for our school. You know, not only to prepare for his lessons every day for his students, but to plan professional development, to condense the ELA information and figuring out what's most relevant to share with the staff and what needs to be communicated. You know, he's putting in above and beyond.
He's also on several different curriculum cohorts. He's a yes person, right? And so anything that is new, whether it's a program or a curriculum or an opportunity for his kids, he's saying yes, and he wants to be part of that initiative and that change.
He is the most empathetic person I know, and he takes everything to heart. He would even just laugh at the fact that I'm saying all these kind, nice, wonderful things about him because he feels like he doesn't deserve it, and he does. The quote that Maya Angelou says about you don't You don't remember how the things that people say, but you remember how people made you feel. That's Kevin in a nutshell.
Kevin deserves this honor because every single day, year after year, he is excellent at what he does. Excellence is not momentary. It is consistent. Any kid who comes in his classroom, they know they belong. And that belief really matters to our kids. And he brings that to every single kid. And that's why he should be our Excellence in Education Award winner.
Kevin, you are beyond deserving of this award. I am so thankful to work with you as a colleague and collaborate with you and call you a friend. Congratulations.
Hi, Kevin. I need you to take a moment and realize that you are an awesome educator, human, father, person, friend, and you deserve this award. So thank you for everything that you've done.
Kevin, congratulations. You are incredibly well deserving as our Excellence in Education Award winner. When we talk about the reasons that Spady is such a special place, I always say it's because of our people. The people make our place. And you're one of those incredible special people that make this place a special place for our kids and our community. So congratulations. Thanks for what you do.
Thank you for having us here this evening. And it's my privilege to get to say a couple words about Kevin. I want to say thank you to all of you who showed up to recognize Kevin tonight. I met Kevin Hyman 18 years ago. I was a just hired fourth grade teacher, and Kevin was finishing up his first year teaching third grade at Spady. Connie Brawley, the Spady principal at the time, was walking me through the halls of the old Spady building, introducing me to people, and she stopped outside a classroom. She turned to me, and she said, "This is Kevin Hyman's classroom. He's a new teacher this year, and he's really good." She was right. I think I lasted 2 weeks in my very first year teaching before I found myself back in Kevin's classroom, asking him how in the world he had managed to wrangle and control some of the boys in my fourth grade class who had been in his third grade class the previous year. Remember those conversations? Yeah. I would be back in his classroom not too much later that same year, asking Kevin how to teach my students how to write a passable closing for a personal narrative, because Kevin had shown his students the music video Fireflies by Owl City the year before to illustrate the skill, and the kids from his class wouldn't stop talking about that writing lesson, even a year later. I don't think they listened to me lick. No matter if it's leading in the adoption and implementation of a new curriculum, new reporting standards, outlining and leading new professional development and learning opportunities for our staff, switching grade levels, or thinking creatively all the time about his teaching craft, Kevin shows up for that work with a passion, a dedication, and excellence that isn't accidental, contrived, or inconsistent. Kevin's relational and instructional efficacy are worthy of recognition as he does both things remarkably well. I shared this with our staff a couple weeks ago when I announced Kevin as our Excellence in Education winner, but it remains true and worthy, I think, of sharing with all of those who are here tonight to celebrate him. While there are many examples proving Kevin worthy of this recognition, there's maybe no greater compliment than this. No person has ever been in his classroom and left feeling less than. Whatever you need, regardless of who you are, Kevin meets you there. He sees you, and you feel seen. If we are to be about telling and showing our students that they belong in our spaces, if we are to be about persuading our students that we sincerely see and believe in their highest potentials, if we are to be about setting our kids up with the skills to become the very best versions of themselves, then I can think of very few places at Spady School better than Kevin Hyman's classroom. Kevin, congratulations. And thank you for the work you do for our kids, your colleagues, and our community each and every day. I respect and admire you for the work you do and the way in which you do it.
Thank you so much. Okay. Thank you, Isaac. That was amazing. Everything about this night so far has been amazing. If you know me at all, you know me that I've overanalyzed, rethought, and second-guessed if Isaac really did mean to say my name at the staff meeting a couple weeks ago. I often, always, measure myself against the remarkable work I see every day that goes on at Spady. So this feels both humbling and meaningful. This award encourages me to keep learning and keep doing the hard work that matters most. I want to express my gratitude to the Ladue School District and the Board of Education. I am super proud to work in a district that celebrates and provides opportunities in the well-being and diversity and equity and inclusion of all of us. Thank you, Lauren, my beautiful wife, compassionate yet direct, understanding yet direct, takes no nonsense from anyone, and yes, direct. She gets me and still puts up with me. I love you very much. Thank you to my mom, who I still text or call every morning to work. No matter how old I get, I still need to hear your reassuring voice. Thank you, Dad, who's easily convinced to go out for a drink, reminding me to pause and just enjoy life. Amelia and Olivia, my two daughters, I'll get through it. You have so much interest in my work life, asking questions and giving your blunt, matter-of-fact advice. You remind me why this work matters. And to all my extended family, I may be the brunt of many jokes at Sunday night dinner, but look at me now. Seeing you all here makes me feel even more loved. To the early administrators who took a chance on me before I fully believed in myself, thank you. To our current administration, Isaac and Taylor, you lead with compassion, integrity, and you model the kind of leadership I strive to mirror. Dr. Jen Rizumi, assigned to me as a mentor 18 years ago, but so much more than that. And I think she's missing a concert for this too, so I thank her very, very much for being here. Sounding board and one of my closest friends through every endeavor. I am who I am professionally and personally because of your steady belief in me. My current fourth grade team. Kayla, I'm mad at you because you'll find out later in my speech about the quote that you just said in there, but we know each other very, very well. You know you're my emotional support human. You listen to understand, not just to respond. I wouldn't want anyone else to be my door buddy. Kim, you know I was scared of you before joining fourth grade. But you remind me that different opinions are not personal attacks. Just checking, that's right? Okay, see, I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid. Tracy, thank you for always having that needle and thread that sews everything together for our Spady family. And to the whole Spady family, our passion echoes within our building walls. Well, lack of walls. But what remains constant is this evolving relationship, authentic connections, sacrifices, and always doing what's best for our students. Finally, to all the parents, guardians, and students, I'm grateful to share this partnership that promotes connection, growth, and a sense of purpose. This award is for all of us who pour ourselves into this hard work, who reflect, who adjust, who show up again tomorrow doing better than we did the day before. So I end with a quote that Kayla already stole from me from the movie. I've learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. This opportunity to share my gratitude, standing among so many that are equally deserving, has made me feel seen, and that is a feeling I will always remember. Thank you.
Yep, we got it.
We got it. We got it. Sorry.
I'd like to now invite Mr. Heyman's family to join him. Now this one's gonna be hard, but the Spady family. If there's students here, you may also join. Come on, students. Parents, you may join as well. You're part of the Spady family. So if I have all the students, if I can have all the students on the floor, thank you. Just slide all of these down. Go ahead and push that way. Putting that on my table? Is it karaoke time? All right, all eyes this way. We'll be next to each other. Just take your pictures.
Yeah, got it.
So good. Good, how are you? All right. Thank you, Mrs. Rosen.
Thank you. Let everyone get resituated. Okay, because we have a somewhat lengthy agenda tonight, I'm going to cede my remarks over to Dr. Whipke just to take a few minutes out of the night.
Kevin, again, congratulations. I am a little bit disappointed that you didn't wear the attire you had on at school today.
Oh, what was that?
But that, huh?
All the bets that they were giving me, I could have made bank if I.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Oh, wear pajamas.
Little Southwest Missouri State, right? You know, yeah, that was great. Well, good evening, everyone. I have several wonderful updates to share about our district from across the district. First, I'd like to extend a huge congratulations once again to Conway Elementary School. As many of you already know, but they were recognized as being a Gold Star school. This is a testament to hard work, the students, the staff, the families. I enjoyed spending time with the Conway staff while they received their award from our Commissioner of Education. I also want to congratulate Reed and Spady Elementary Schools. Spady's here, right, in fine fashion. Both schools have won the first annual Louis Awards presented by the Gateway to Success Foundation. We went to a nice celebration together, celebrating the outstanding student growth over the past year. So congratulations on this well-deserved honor. At the high school level, our counseling department and our college career specialist recently hosted a financial aid community meeting. We had an incredible turnout of over 200 people showing up, showing just how engaged our families are in planning for their children's future. Speaking of student engagement, I had the pleasure of introducing our incoming superintendent, Dr. Jeff Macy, to some of the best kids in the world, which were our middle school and high school superintendent student advisory councils. I know Jeff looks forward to collaboratively working with these groups in the future and these student leaders. Our fine arts department continues to shine. A huge congratulations to Justin Schauer and our talented high school theater students on their phenomenal performance of Legally Blonde. How many out there got to see Legally Blonde? For those of you not clapping, you really missed out. Get to the next one. It was a wonderful show. In honor of Black History Month, our students have been deeply engaged in meaningful learning. Our SOB group at the high school recently visited the History Museum and the Mill Creek exhibit. And our middle school hosted a very successful trivia assembly that Dr. Macy and I both attended today. They had a ton of fun. We also held a successful professional development day this past Friday. I want to thank Dr. Layla Crabtree and her team for organizing such powerful learning opportunities for our staff. Our early childhood programs are also thriving under Dr. Stacy Carlock's leadership, Dr. Wallace's leadership. The enrollment is filling up quickly. So if you have a little one out there, sign up quick. And I want to thank all of our LEA team members that are here who work in partnership with us and have such a collaborative relationship with us. LEA, please know how much we appreciate you. And finally, I want to recognize 3 members of our leadership team for their recent professional achievements. Dr. Derek Wallace for his recent presentation on a national panel at the AASA National Conference. And Dr. Tom Devitt, who has been honored with the Outstanding Instructional Leadership Award from the Executive Board of Missouri. Let's give him a round of applause. And lastly, but not least, Dr. Stephanie Simon, who has received the Special School District Distinguished Leadership Award. Let's give her a round of applause. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, Dr. Whipke. Are there any board, committee, or school liaison reports? I know Keisha had one.
I'll be brief. I just wanted to provide a few updates from some of the organizations that I'm part of outside of our board. One is the SSD Governing Council. We will have our next meeting on Tuesday, March the 3rd, where we will be electing the next board of directors for a special school district. And from the MSBA Board of Directors meeting that we had last month, I have emailed you all, just for the sake of time, Education Under Pressure and the 2026 legislative priorities. I also want to update you that our current board representative for Region 7 for the Regional Executive Committee is Keith Ravenberg from Brentwood. He will be resigning. He's not running this time, so we will be appointing a new member to represent us on the board. And Legislative Advocacy Day again is March 10th, and hope to see you all there. Thank you.
I had the pleasure of attending the Ladue Middle School Superintendent Advisory Committee, which was great. The kids are working on the race to whatever they want, which means that they are using their imaginations and creativity to identify needs in the community and then figure out how to solve problems that exist. So it was always very powerful. I will also say great feedback that they love the block schedule and they're really happy with the expanded student activities offered at the middle school. So it's always great to get to be in the buildings and get to talk to our kids. I don't see any public comment cards. Okay. Hopefully everyone's had time to review the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
So moved.
I'm going to give it to Peter and Keisha. Thank you. It's a lot of microphones. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. And then we will move on to our action items. The first one is mine. Last month we reviewed the board meeting revisions, the revisions to the board meeting dates for the 26-27 school year. Are there any questions about the proposed revisions? Okay, is there a motion to approve the calendar as presented?
So moved.
Thank you, Keisha. Thank you, Amy. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. And pay applications. Dr.
All
Macy.
right, good evening, everyone, and what a great night to have a special presentation along with just a pay application. Usually we just talk about where we're at in the project and we talk about exactly what the bill is for that particular month, but we are extremely proud of the work that we've done out at the West Campus. The field renovation project started with our Facilities and Finance Committee 2 years ago. We worked through it at the board retreat. The board graciously approved the project. You know, the district administration has supported this project all along, and we have a video that we want to share. This video that we're going to share in a minute is from Vincent Shao, our Catalyst intern in our communications department. So Vincent did everything creatively, the drone work, everything from start to finish, and then he actually facilitated an interview with Mike Noonan as part of our Next Link newsletter. The goal of this video is to inform the public about the new field, tennis courts, and it will serve as an invitation to our ribbon cutting ceremony on March 24th at 3:30 for the first varsity baseball game. So let's go ahead and watch the video. So truly incredible video, and Vincent will do that for every pay application moving forward if you're available. But I do want to give a special shout out to Mike Noonan and Vernon Jones as well for completing this project in time for our spring sports to begin using that facility immediately. So fantastic project. Thank you again to the board, Dr. Whipke, and we would ask that you approve the pay application for this month.
If only Vincent wasn't graduating. He could do it for every presentation. Is there a motion to approve the Vernon Jones pay application in the amount of $28,500?
So moved.
Thank you, Peter.
Second.
Thank you, Pablo. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you. Dr. Macy, you're up again.
All right, another exciting item of approval, the prepayment of debt. So this is our second reading. We typically do a information item, and then we ask the board to approve at the second reading. The district is in a great financial position to prepay some existing debt, which will shorten the duration of our debt and also save the district on interest. So this is an incredible opportunity. Debt service is separate money. It's completely separate from Fund 1, 2, and 4. So this money is a levy that is dedicated solely to the collection of local taxes to pay off bonds. So this is a great opportunity, and we would recommend that the board approve the prepayment of $8.5 million to Zion's Bank Corporation, and it will be payable on March 1st.
So moved. Oh, sorry, I'm ahead. You didn't call for a
That's okay.
motion. No?
Is there a motion to approve the prepayment of $8.5 million in debt to Zion's Bank Corporation on March 1, 2026?
So moved.
Thank you,
Second.
Jennifer. Wait, was that you, Peter? You
No,
had the second?
I will take the second. Yep.
You
I
can't say we don't,
overstepped. Jennifer reached out earlier and she asked if she could.
you can't say we don't
She
have
could be the
fun, you
first
guys.
on that one.
All right, thank you, Jennifer, with the first, Peter with the second. Is any questions? Okay, is there, all in favor? Sorry, no. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you.
And Dr. Macy, thank you for bringing this to us because there's a lot of good mind power went into this that we all heard about last week and you all missed, but we got to hear about it. So.
Oh, and if any staff want to leave to not hear, this next part's kind of exciting. If anyone wants to leave, yeah, you can. No, sorry, Julie. No, I should have said it before. But now everyone wants to hear this.
They're here for this.
Jen really wants everyone to stay.
We want everyone to stay. You're all welcome here.
Yes.
Always.
Well, thank you, Board of Education. As you guys know, we have been talking about this since September, so thank you guys for all the time. Before we get into the resolutions, though, I do want to thank our LEA group, Jen Hardigan here, who's the director with me. Got Michael Clay representing the middle school. And Kara Moore, 5th grade center. And on the district team, besides myself, we had Dr. Macy. Yes. Brad Griffiths served as the other administrator. And then we had two very important silent observers. We had Pablo Flynn and Robert Snedman, who helped. So it has once again been a very collaborative and wonderful process that we have gone through with the LEA. I just appreciate all of the hard work and the time that everyone has put into this. Not only is it important for our teachers and our staff to have, competitive salary and a great workplace, but it's also makes my job a lot easier when I am trying to attract and retain staff. So I appreciate that. I'm going to go ahead and Jen's going to start us off.
I also want to throw out a couple of thanks. Thanks to the board for the creative process that this always, it always takes a while and conversation to get there, so we appreciate the support throughout the process. I also need to shout out Casey Sambo, who was our silent observer. And I may not be understating this. I think both teams might agree was the MVP because math, and she does it very well. I also want to thank Katie Courtwright, the president of LEA, and Riley Keltner, our vice president, and the entire LEA executive board, who, without their support through this, I don't think that the process would go as smoothly as it did. Our process actually, on the LEA side, started over the summer. I want to thank a lot of the people in this room right now. We had teachers K through 12 participate in some brainstorming sessions about how we wanted to approach this year, and it just shows the level of commitment that the staff has to each other and to the district and how they want this to run smoothly. So, are we going to run into the... All right. So, both sides brought proposals regarding salary and compensation. And after spirited discussion, we have reached some resolutions. There will be some changes to the way that our formula is calculated going forward. We will continue to utilize comparable districts in order to create a base salary for each cell. And we will no longer be using the $1,300 excellence stipend as the way to separate ourselves from our comparables. We are instead going to move to a percentage increase. A 3% increase will be applied to each cell of the annual calculated base salary. And we believe that this is going to allow us to move into a system that grows with teachers, that encourages our career-long education, as well as longevity and service to the district. We also just want to thank the board because the board is going to be increasing our spending parameters for the next few years in order to fund this. And so without that decision, we would not be able to make this movement. So thank you very much.
Awesome. Now we've got a few of the next ones coming up. So the next one we had is insurance. We both brought that as one of our topics. We've done some changes with our insurance, and a huge thank you to Dr. Macy and his department for helping us and providing the data for this. We've made some changes this year, which I think have really done great for our plan, and so we wanted to keep the premium the same. Well, we're increasing it to 10%, but that really doesn't impact any of our staff who are on that. And then dependent care, we did keep those the same, so no increases for either one of them. The pharmacy benefits, we are going to fully implement that. There was a partial implementation this year, and again, we saw some success with that. So we are going to fully implement the formulary that has been recommended to us, and to help control and reduce some of those expenses that we've had to our plan. And then as far as the HSA, in order to offset some of that full implementation of the plan, we are going to front load the HSA to help with some of that. So the district puts in over $1,600 into health savings accounts, and so normally it's done in pieces, and we're going to try to give that more to the front of the plan, so that will help with that. And then Dr. Macy is going on a road show over here where he's going around to faculty meetings and doing question and answer with the staff so that they can have lots of, have answers to their questions. And so hopefully there's not as much disruption as possible. So the next one is a staff leave, and you're going to hear more about this in the information section right after this. So the part that's negotiated regarding staff leave was the sick day buyback. So we agreed, LEA actually brought this one, but this is actually something that we have been talking about a lot too around leave, and we've been analyzing the data and sharing it with the board and with LEA. So the sick leave buyback, we were spending about $330,000 on this per year, but it was not improving our overall attendance. So through a lot of conversations, and again, the board, a lot of conversations with the board, and again, I'll share that in information, but we have decided to discontinue the sick leave buyback. Those funds are getting reallocated though into the stipend and leadership funds. So moving on to stipends and leadership funds. This stipends have always been something that we know that we have to keep up with to stay competitive so that we have great people working with our kids. So what we've noticed is we did have a few stipends that were getting, they weren't as competitive. And so through this, I want to thank several people here, and Layla, I'm probably going to, Dr. Crabtree, she headed up the stipend subcommittee for us, and offhand, I cannot think of who our other partners were that helped with that. But again, a big thanks to the stipend subcommittee that helped with that. You may have those people written down. And so, yes, shout those people out. That's important.
Thank you, Angela Thompson, Tom Devitt, Nick Giannino, Adam Durham, Zach Harrison, Molly McCrudden, and Katie Solomon.
Yes, thank you, all of you guys. That was, again, a big task in a very quick period of time that we asked for them to do that. So with that, we do have some stipend increases that they recommended. We also, something that's been kind of an issue that we wanted, and again, making everything transparent. So that committee did come up with a new club rate formula, which will be implemented. And again, it's very clear and transparent, which we think is important when it comes to the funds that are being delivered. And then an overall review of the stipends. So they did identify some necessary new stipends, but also to eliminate some that are no longer needed or required. And then very importantly, there'll be a standing subcommittee. I don't know if it'll be exactly those people, and I'm looking at Layla, but she did such a good job. But there will be a standing subcommittee that'll have representation from both LEA and the district, and that'll meet one or two times a year, really just to review all the stipends and to go over everything. But that is where the funding from the staff leave buyback is being used to fund that proposal.
We also brought a proposal to review the wellness reimbursement process and to see if we could use that to also help kind of offset some of the expenses that we've had as far as our health coverage goes. We've decided to table this for now, and I think we have some cool things we're talking about for future, so this will probably be something that we talk about again in future presentations, not presented by me. And finally, the most exciting part is we are going to update the master agreement to reflect all of these changes, and the lawyers will have a really good look at it for us. So that's that.
So those are the resolutions. At this time, I will be, if there's any questions, I can take those, but otherwise I'll be asking for these to be approved by the board.
So as you shared, Robert and I we're silent observers, and there's a capacity and expectation that we are listening with earnestness to hear what's being said by all parties. And I will tell you that decisions like this and what you all came to doesn't occur for people who need it, doesn't occur for people who want it. It only occurs by virtue of people who do it. You all spent the time to listen to each other, to find out how do we support the human beings, the human capital that allows us to be the district we are, so that we can support the most important capital, that being the young people in our spaces. You all did a phenomenal job. I don't want to misspeak for Robert as well, but it was a pleasure just to watch and be present as a silent observer in the work you all were doing to make sure you show up in a space that cares about you in more than one way. So thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to say thank you for letting me be a part of it. I imagine it'd be some ugly confrontation, but it wasn't. It was a true collaboration, and I really appreciate everybody just getting together and getting the job done to everybody. So agreement. So thank you.
Thank you, Robert.
Thank you to everybody who took part in this, whether you were silent or vocal. This is absolutely a team effort, and at this point, I will ask if there is a motion to approve the meet and confer resolutions as presented.
So moved.
Thank you, Pablo. Thank you, Robert. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you all so much.
Thanks, team.
Carry
Ready
on.
for me?
Yes.
Okay, this is the information item that we have. So as I alluded to earlier, we have really been looking at, this is our third year in the staff leave allotment that after we came off of the 125 days, we went to 16 days. And so we've been analyzing this data, again, trying to have an incentive for staff to be here. And it wasn't really improving the attendance. So the data didn't show that the 16 days and the staff buyback were very effective in improving. And in addition, we also had kind of an unintentional outcome was undue emotional and financial hardship on some of our staff with serious medical situations that they were going through. And so with all of that, and we've had a lot of discussion, we are going to recommend the following, which I think will really get at some of the issues that the 16-day policy had for us. So we're looking at, and let me get through all of this. So we have recommending a total of 10 annual paid leave days. And then of those, 6 of them would be sick days, and 4 of them would be personal days. There's also a bank of special medical leave. It's currently 20 days, and you guys, I'm recommending you increase that to 60 days, and that should help offset that piece of some of the staff with serious medical conditions. Out of those 60 days, though, we are looking at, because we know that it is a change to go from 16 days down to 10, so we are looking at being able to use up to 5 of those 60 days if you would need additional sick days. You know, you got flu right now, right? So you're sick, your kids get sick, on and on. So that would be the case for that. So really, technically going from 16 days to 10 with access to some more, and then access to a much bigger special medical leave bank that we didn't have this year. Looking back at, since we've had this plan in place, that 60 days would take care of all the people that have had serious health conditions over the past 2.5 years, and that would make sure that they would have been fully paid while they were out. So implementing this new staff leave allotment would ensure that staff have enough paid leave time during the year, while also keeping the balance of having our staff in front of our kids. We believe that the additional special medical leave paid days will provide security and peace of mind for those staff who are going through those serious health conditions. Of course, all of this will be outlined in the procedure around the policy. And so I'm looking for this, I know this is an information item, but we've been discussing it for quite some time, and since it does tie to the resolutions in a way, I would ask that we move this item to action tonight.
Is there a motion to move the staff leave proposal to action?
So moved.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Second.
Amy? Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. And is there a motion to approve the 26-27 leave proposal?
So moved.
Thank you, Amy.
Second.
Thank you, Robert. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for everyone who worked on this. It's
Yes.
a labor of love.
Thank you.
Okay. And seeing how much fun we have here in the board meeting, you are welcome to stay. But if this is the end of your time with us this evening, please, please have a nice night. You can tell there's a lot of teachers in this room. It is very quiet. That was very demure. Very, what was the other word? Mindful, very demure. Thank you to everyone who stayed. Sorry. I know. Dr. Crabtree, the 27-28 academic calendar, which calendar committee, best committee. So.
Always. Thank you, Catherine Ward, representing the calendar committee. I don't know why everyone's not excited about the 27-28 calendar, but I'm here tonight to propose the 27-28 calendar as an information this evening. The 27-28 calendar includes 172 student attendance days and 188 teacher contract days. This school year is 172. Each year, depending on the start time, we're between 172 and 174 student contact days each year. Over the next 2 years, the school start date is almost as late as it can be, with Labor Day falling late. We have to start no more than 10 days, school days prior to Labor Day. Two important things to note about the 27-28 calendar. The committee has proposed moving fall break, the Monday off, to Monday, November 1st. This is to ensure that students don't have to come the day after a Sunday Halloween, and then there is no school on Tuesday, November 2nd for a professional development day, and so we're moving sort of that 4-day weekend back by a week. The conference compensation day will still fall at its normal time. And then the other thing to note is that March begins on a Wednesday that year, and so we're moving spring break back a week. We are one of the first districts to publicly put out our 27-28 calendar, but there are a couple other districts have also talked about moving spring break back a week. If we kept it at its normal time, quarter 3 and quarter 4 would be significant. Quarter 4 would be 15 days longer than quarter 3. So those are the two important things to note about the 27-28 calendar. Any questions?
Great committee.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, that wasn't a question, that was a comment. Thank you so much.
I have the next item.
Oh, you have the next item too, sorry.
There are 3 policies coming to you tonight for information. The first is policy, I think it's IIA, on instructional materials. This policy has been updated to reflect the growing number of technology resources that are being utilized in schools and to ensure that districts take special care to protect the privacy and confidentiality of students. Dr. Brown and her team has done a phenomenal job of this. The policy aligns with our current practice for approving instructional materials. I recommend that we adopt this policy as presented by MSBA. Any questions on that policy?
Oh, I had one question.
Yes, please.
Actually, so reading the policy, these are bewildering because the policy will refer to another so I tried to follow the trail on IIAC and ended up KLB to A anyway. The bottom line question that I had was in our board policy, it says that at a process that says that the superintendent or designee would create a procedure to address community questions, concerns, if necessary, about whatever materials we have. Do we have where would someone find the procedure itself?
Great question.
Just in
on
case.
our new curriculum and instruction website,
Excellent.
we have a link to the reconsideration policy, which was created several years ago as part of Senate Bill 75. We had input from our library team, teachers, and then the curriculum instruction team at that time. And so, excellent question. The administrative procedure, which does not come before the board for approval, as it's a procedure, not a policy. Fern has updated that procedure to reflect the current process we have in place. A parent at any point can bring forward a question around any of our instructional materials. If the school agrees with the parent, it may be resolved there. If it is not resolved, then it goes through a multi-tiered process, first with the building committee. The parent can then appeal to a district committee, and then after a district committee, it would come before the Board of Education for final vote.
Thank you.
I'm happy to include the link in the weekend update so you can read the full policy. The next policy is policy IIAC, instructional media centers and school libraries. This policy has been updated to align with MSIP 6. The policy also refers to the administrative procedure that I just mentioned that outlines a formal review of public questions, comments, and concerns about any instructional, media, and library materials that cannot be resolved informally. We have updated this procedure to align with our current practice of material reconsideration. This policy, again, aligns with our current practice. This policy really places the librarians just where they should be in reviewing the materials that go into a library. And so I recommend that we adopt this policy as presented by MSBA. Any questions on that one? And then the final one is regulation IIAC-R1. This regulation is being rescinded. The content has been updated and recoded in the previous policy. And so I recommend that we rescind this regulation as presented by MSBA.
Thank you very much. Okay. Dr. Macy and Cordigan and Clark.
All right, good evening again. We do have our team from Cordigan Clark here to provide the board with an update on the actual admin center building itself. So we are moving into the phase now where designs are coming, square footage is being set, and the design team is working with the individual departments to discuss proximity and amenities associated with all the departments. So our focus tonight will be the building as we move into the discussions with the city of Ladue and move towards the zoning and planning component. So, Rick? All right.
Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to present again tonight. As Jeff mentioned, we're focused really on the building. We made a lot of progress since the last meeting. I believe most of this package was probably shared with you all for about a week, and we've met with Dr. Macy, Dr. Whipke, Mike Noonan, and most of the department heads, and got a lot of input on this. So it's an important milestone that we're at because we're locking down what does the site plan look like, the size of the building. That'll be important because as you can see on the schedule here, it's important because next month in March we will be starting to submit to the city, to MSD, and going through that formal process to get variances and planning and zoning approval and all that sort of stuff. So I'm going to let Aaron kind of take it from here and kind of go through the presentation. So.
Yeah, good evening. It's good to see you all. So we're going to start looking at the existing site and really focusing on this portion of the site this evening and how it relates to the middle school campus and the new administration center. So right now, the area that we've outlined in red, that houses about 80 parking spaces. And then per Prop L, we elevated the total campus parking to 237. These are important numbers because this will gauge when you see what we're looking at now. So from that 80 parking spaces, immediately area, you see that we're looking at an upper parking lot, a lower parking lot, expanding spaces adjacent to the existing administration center, as well as providing some parallel parking along that loop road that we're building that will facilitate circulation around the administration building as well as that front field area. So more or less, we'll be looking at ways to infill a few spaces here or there as the site plan continues to be developed. But right now, we're sitting shortly under 140 spaces for the amount of parking that's directly related to the administration building and that also associate with the athletic fields, not only this front field that you see in view, but the new back fields that are planned. What I'd like to point out in the upper parking lot, we are pushing that parking lot closer to the tennis courts to gain spaces. We're also utilizing that as ADA parking for those back fields. So the intent is to provide an ADA hardscape access from those parking spaces to the new back turf field. We have been gotten questions of, is there any way to keep increasing parking. And at this point around this site, you can see how we are starting to encroach into the fields. We can continue to look, and we are always continuing to look at ways that we can gain parking spaces, but at this point, any big shift in numbers, we will start to lose green space, lose field space. So we are balancing the amount of parking that is gained with the regulation size field hockey front field, as well as looking to maintain green space per the City of Ladue ordinance. The upper parking lot, as we're all aware, has that grade change from plan left to plan right. We will still be utilizing that grade change in order to keep that ADA access from the parking lot to the backfield. That lower lot to upper parking lot, in the middle, we're about roughly right now 6 to 8 feet. Nothing is set in stone. Our civil engineer is still working through the final grading. But we are looking to put retaining walls around between the two upper and lower parking, as well as around the plan right north side of the building. So we can sink that building into the lower grade that would be more aligned with the front field and would be immediate access off that lower parking lot in Front Entry Plaza. The one-way loop road is not only for feasibility of access to the backfields, but also a request from the fire department, so they do have access all the way around the building. So looking at this in a massing and how it contextually fits into the fabric of the middle school campus, we're looking at a 2-story building. Excuse me. We looked at this in a number of ways and came to the conclusion that a 3-story building, although the floor plate was smaller in scale, with the contextual of the campus and the raising grade where the building is currently situated, it seemed disproportionate. So this fits a lot better with the fabric of the building. It's not overwhelming to the campus. The school is still the primary visual seen from all sides, as well as this gives a really nice integrated area on the lower lot to access for the public for a nice front main entry. As well as the facade overlooking that front field, those office areas will have a nice vista over the field into the graded tree area. So these are just some massing views on how we're looking at this building and how it's sitting. So already you can start to see how it is elevated, naturally graded. But here you can really tell this is a view kind of where Clayton Road and Highdown meet, where we're looking at the main entry of Ladue Middle School. But you can start to see in the background how that second floor and the upper parking lot are more akin. So we are developing a administration entry that's secondary that would be accessible from that upper lot. So the lower lot and the ground floor would be visitor access primarily. Another view, and I do want to point out something in the back where you see a notch in the building. We are investigating the opportunity to keep potentially some of the rooftop units on the roof of the first level, so we don't have all the rooftop units on the top of the second level. Our mechanical engineer is investigating this, looking at efficiencies, airflows, to see if there's the opportunity to do this. So again, really trying to be mindful of the scale of the equipment and not only the building.
Is that, I mean, just because I guess the angle that we're at here is kind of higher than anyone would normally be, is that sort of out of consideration for the neighbors behind, or?
I think it's consideration for everyone. I mean, because it is higher on campus, it would take a screen and everything that we don't want the rooftop unit to be the focal point when you're down on the field level, or when you're across the street in the neighbor's house. So we are trying to be mindful of what you're not seeing in this view as it relates to bringing in all the utilities that are required to efficiently run a building. Now, I can't say that we're not going to have the rooftop unit on the roof, or if the mechanical engineer comes and says, well, your efficiency is greatly increased, sustainability is greatly increased by keeping it on the roof, those are things we're going to have to weigh. And again, we'll be looking at it as a masking once we understand the size and what that does and where it's located.
Okay,
But I
thank
just
you.
want to let you guys know we are exploring that option of potentially putting a unit on the first level roof as well as the second level roof.
Thank you.
So looking at the space plan, so this is after multiple meetings of programming with the administrators and understanding their wants and needs and the sizes of their space. We developed the internal space plan layout. So we're looking at the area directly from the lower parking lot. We have a nice entry plaza to pass through, and the stairs on the upper left here, those are the stairs that spoke of that would connect the upper parking to the lower parking. So those coming to visit the building when it's busy and are utilizing the upper parking lot can easily access the visitor entry without having to walk all the way around. So right away, the majority of the community would be visiting this building, accessing this ground floor through a secure vestibule. And we've tried to keep the colors consistent for type of space. So orange is a meeting or assembly area. So you can see right away, this lower floor is primarily meeting space. This space is planned for the general public, the community, the families that come in. A nice grand lobby that can serve as both pre and post function for larger events, as well as right away that boardroom that we envision is really the heart of this floor, dual acting as professional development center, as well as large meetings throughout the day. It could be, community use if so deemed, evenings and weekends. We have the opportunity with that double door at the end of the corridor to close and lock down this floor. So the community and general public have access to restrooms, small meeting rooms, as well as the larger event space without transversing through the back of the floor. What we show here in the meeting in the lower right would serve not only for the board's closed session, so there's that immediate adjacency through the back door up by the dais for the board between the two closed sessions and the boardroom. But this will also serve as more of a large-scale private meeting room for the administrators and those community members and or families that might have a very delicate matter at hand that they come to this building to discuss. I want to point out just directly planned north of this meeting room that we placed the elevator independent of the stair, specifically because upstairs the elevator has that immediate access to the administration secondary entry off the upper lot. So those administrators that know that they're scheduling a meeting that is quite sensitive in nature can ask those community members to come to that secondary access point, let them into the building, immediately go downstairs into this back meeting area, and then reverse upon departure. So there's not any transverse through the main public lobby. The areas in kind of that yellow mustard color are really the back of house that are serving this floor. The majority of the floor in the upper right and in the upper midsection is part of that retaining wall below grade system. So we are developing spaces that do not need natural light in those areas, meaning the restrooms, the wellness, the utility closet, storage, mechanical areas, those that don't get natural light made sense to go back here. Whereas the meeting areas, the large meeting area on the lower right and the boardroom and the lobby will all have nice full height windows that have a lovely view of the field and the rest of campus.
I have a question. So based on this, I know you haven't gotten to the upper floor yet, but based on this lower floor, the only kind of person who would be stationed on this floor is the person sitting at the welcome desk?
Yes, and the head of safety and security.
And the head of safety and security, okay. I just am thinking, you know, a lot of times our safety and security folks are not in the buildings, they're out in community. And so if, you know, we're always thinking the ifs, you know, there is an emergency, the welcome desk person, whoever that is at the time, is essentially down here by themselves. Just a concern that.
Yeah, and we had looked at this both ways, both keeping the majority of the offices on a upstairs on another level or sprinkling some of them down here. And there ended up being more challenges than benefits with splitting the departments up between floors and how to really provide that safety and security for all the administrators. So that secure vestibule will act as line number 1 of defense and line number 2. We envision that the exterior doors will be locked as well as those interior vestibule doors. So if there is any concern, once a visitor is into that interior vestibule, there still is the need to physically press the button to allow them access, so you still have those 2 lines of defense.
And I know this will come later. Right now, if somebody's not sitting at the front desk, then somebody somewhere else in the building can let people in. I just think that's a workflow we probably need to think through if that person is the only person, you know, on that floor.
Right. There'll have to be a lot of communication, more so than just looking down the hall to see who's available. There's also systems in place that we can utilize that would be buzzers and doorbells that would ring elsewhere than just the welcome desk. So we can set up secondary and even the third location. If the welcome desk isn't picking it up right away, then it starts notifying that secondary location. If that secondary location might happen to be elsewhere too, then there's always going to be a third backup.
Just along those same lines, looking at the layout for the first floor, if this is our main entrance into the new building, they're basically coming into an empty floor unless there's meetings being present. So if a parent was coming to speak with someone in safety and security, or if new hires were coming to for interviews with human resources, you're basically coming into a empty box until everything else is on the second floor. So that's one point. And then I know you mentioned the boardroom. Are there sliding partitions, or how can that be utilized on the other many days besides the 2 times a month that we have a board meeting?
Both great questions.
Yes.
I'm going to address the first one.
Okay.
We anticipate that this floor is going to be more activated than not, because this is where all the meetings will take place for those that just need to come in and onboard, come in and sign some documents, come in and have a meeting of 15 to 20 people. So we do feel that this space will get highly utilized. The space doesn't exist in the current administration center, so that flow of people hasn't yet been engaged in the way that we anticipate with this. Second question about the operable partitions. It's a good one, and we are showing 2 in this setup. The dotted lines that have the operable partitions, one is adjacent to the dais and the elevated dais, so that can be closed off, and then the rest of the space could be used as one large space. We're also showing a secondary one that's right in the middle, so that large space can then be closed into 2 good size meeting areas. We've gotten questions about potentially having meeting areas a little bit more defined for that 20 to 30 people range, and so we can continue to look at what opportunities we have with operable partitions against operable partitions. But as of right now, we are looking at the 2 to really create 3 uses right off the bat for the scale of this meeting room. And I want to point out right now we're showing the seats very generously. It's a very comfortable seating layout, and it holds 138 quite comfortably. If there are evenings where you have an excellent faculty member that a lot of people come to recognize, there will be the opportunity to put more seats in.
I had just a quick question, and it popped into my head when Dr. Whipke recognized Dr. Crabtree's time for the recent professional development. So presumably we would also then hold events like that, and if it's a day-long event, you have food. And so I know on the second floor there's more of a lounge kitchen, but if you had a catered meal for over 100 people, is there an area on that floor with a kitchen area or somewhere where it could be kind of staged, served, stored, or would that have to go up and down on the elevator?
No, we don't intend that it would be going up and down. It could, but that wouldn't be the first recommendation. Utilizing that back large meeting area as a flow-through, kind of a serving area in the middle of the table and kind of walk around, that could be an option, as well as what we haven't really placed in here inside the boardroom, professional development room yet, as we are working with our structural engineer to understand where the column locations around the perimeter are. But usually we will plan like a counter space for food service, and then we would work with what length is desirable. Could there be tables that come in and set up adjacent on those few times that the food spread is really long? But majority of the time, we only need about 12 linear feet type thing.
Okay. All right, thank you.
I have a question. What's in wellness?
Wellness is a dual purpose. It's a mother's lounge, as well as an area that is available for all the administrators if there just needs to be a debrief time. If you've had a hard meeting, bad phone call, you can just step inside this room and kind of decompress for a little while. Any more questions before we go upstairs? And this isn't your last time to ask questions on this floor either. All right, upstairs. So primarily, this is where the departments will reside. Very few general public will be here in meetings. They will only be up here if they are invited and escorted by a member of the administration. So this floor is intended to be more private to the administration. So we've shown the offices in the green, and we've grouped them not to be the specific, but starting to look at adjacencies that have been requested across departments. We also were mindful when placing the offices of there are some groups who are very highly collaborative and meeting a lot, and there were some groups that need a little bit more acoustic and visual privacy than others. So we tried to accommodate that first and foremost. So I want to point out the administration entrance that you see in the upper right. So this is directly off that upper parking lot. So you can start to see the relationship from this secure vestibule to that elevator. So if there is a community member, general public, parent, family that comes to this entrance, there will be a doorbell that's rung, and that administrator that has scheduled the meeting will come and meet them and then escort them. It could be that meeting room that's in the upper right. It could be that elevator that goes downstairs to the larger meeting room, depending on the size. So again, we're trying to be mindful that there might be times where that nice visual presence of open floor plan, lots of glass, lots of glazing, might necessarily be the most appropriate. So we're trying to find little niches in the building that could be more private. Coming up from the stairwell from down below, right away you start to see kind of that open amenity area. Open break room leading out into an exterior balcony. We heard from many of the administrators that some sort of exterior access would be quite lovely. to be able to just have in a different sort of environment, especially during the warmer months. So this is an area that could be a meeting area, a lunch area, taking a private phone call if you're in an open office. We also sprinkled the meeting rooms throughout the floor plate. Depending on size of your meeting and type of your meeting, there's one directly associated with the break area that could be for lunch meetings. And then there's privacy, there's meeting areas with more glass, and the superintendent's area that is in the upper left-hand side. The dashed boxes that you see kind of around the departments are to note the administration assistants that need that workstation. Those will become further developed as we understand, is this cuticle systems furniture? Is this furniture? Do we need partial height walls around them? A lot of this is the space plan is defined, but the details that are associated. We've tried to keep the majority of the offices the same size, with the exception of the superintendent's office. Those that are in more of the middle of the space, their office is a little bit grander than the perimeter because they are utilizing their natural light through someone else's office. So on the right side, what a programmatic piece that was also asked was, is there a way to create restrooms that are accessible from the exterior that support the fields? So these restrooms will be utilized by students, visitors. The exterior door and wall that we see is anticipated to have glass, so there is that visual into that interior vestibule space for a safety and security measure. And then we'll have one ADA unisex and one non-ADA unisex with drinking fountain bottle filler.
Now, knowing how crazy these administrators get and how much they're talking and collaborating, are these rooms, this is a lot of people on one floor, whereas now we're a lot of people on 2 floors, and actually we're adding more people to the building. Is there soundproofing? Is there, I'm just thinking, there's this open gathering space and maybe people are sitting there chatting and Dr. Crabtree's having a meeting and curriculum and instruction and trying, I know everyone has to be respectful of everyone else, but is that taken into consideration kind of in building materials?
Most definitely. So we anticipate that the walls, the partition will go all the way to the roof deck and have gypsum board and sound bat insulation inside those walls all the way to the roof deck. Also, the ceiling material that we utilize will have a nice noise reduction coefficient, meaning that the sound is absorbed inside the space and it doesn't pass through others. And I know this is a little bit of a change in program to how the administration is currently laid out to how they're laid out in this. But right now we're looking at a floor plate of, a little over 10,000 square feet. So that's the entirety of the administration center today. It's just spread out on one floor. Per code, we could probably fit closer to 60 people on this floor is what code allows. So the spaces do seem all together, but in reality, there's a lot of generous space. And creating areas like little niches of workroom and files is also an intent to give a little bit more breathing room between offices, so they're not all back to back to back. Mm-hmm.
I just had a couple quick ones. So when you mentioned the RTUs, I see them over on the bottom right corner. In the top left corner above the meeting room, that little sort of carve out there in the top left, was that also a space for an RTU? And I may have misread it on the previous slide, or on one of the slides that sort of showed the outline of the building, or the rendering.
So that where it says administration entrance, that carve out, or?
No, so over on the top left side, so just between the superintendent's office and then the meeting room.
Thank you. Yes,
Sure.
yes.
So that is a carve out of sorts to bring natural light further into the space, especially for those like middle offices, to have some sort of daylighting, as well as it could be a material continuation from down below, things like that, to give define the building a little bit more.
And then if the civil engineers find that, you know, for whatever practical reason, the RTUs have to be on the roof, would that curriculum and instruction office space simply be moved outward to the building's exterior, or would it be kind of reevaluated?
A little bit of both. So right now, those two C&I offices are on an exterior wall, but the intent would be that they would have more of a transom window to bring natural light. They would get a full window, they would push farther out, but we don't want to increase the overall square footage just to increase the square footage. So there would be some morphine and some moving and playing.
Okay. And then is it a hoteling office plan in here, or is it just sort of assigned? And the reason I ask is because I know that people are frequently in the buildings, and so there is that kind of flow and transition. Simply everyone who's part of the administration isn't always in the administrative center.
Sure. We have an office space for everyone, as well as a workstation, 1-for-1. So we don't have less than the number of people who are residing in the building. It's assumed based on the adjacencies that have been requested that the offices will be assigned, but it's also assumed that these could be flexible enough in nature that those departments can be rotated around, people can switch, people come and go, have different opinions on how the department can be run. So that's why we're starting to see that they're defined by department and name only, but if you look, maybe that top row of 6 that right now we're calling business, finance, community education, and communication, that could be one department at one time too.
Okay, thank you.
So my question, is there any flexibility? I know I see, like you said, business and finance, there's 3 offices on one, 3 on the other. Are those actual offices, or is it more of a suite that could have cubicles within it to expand should a department need to expand beyond its current capacity in the future?
Sure. There's always the opportunity for walls to be removed and things to be organized differently. We have talked in length with the current administration about the need for future growth, and the explanation is that there's not really one. We're planning for future growth in the idea that some of these meeting rooms are more than what was been requested. So some of the meeting rooms can be changed into offices if that need is continued to be developed. But right now, I know that it is the goal to start bringing people into the buildings as well as this administration center. So we are planning for a little bit of growth, but right now there's no foreseeable growth in any specific department.
But so there's those 3 rooms are actual offices. And so each office has a defined space, square footage. Would it gain us more if one or more decided, like I'm thinking some departments now, everybody is not necessarily in an office because everybody's not even in the building. So would it gain more space to have like a business and finance suite, and then maybe there's the office for the assistant superintendent, and maybe partial offices or cubicles for admin people or others that may or may not need an actual office?
Sure, and that's a way that some offices are developed and organized. It was
in this floor plan?
No, just in general, like
okay.
of having more suites where it's more of an open space with the offices surrounding. It was a request here that each person have their own office, and that the offices are very much adjacent to the other departments because of that intercommunication that happens on a daily basis. Now we are looking at the idea of potentially creating different size offices for that future need if, as we're looking at this in a harder light and really sharpening our pencils. But right now, there is more of a all departments. It gives that also a really nice flexibility in the future to move the departments around if you're not relying on a suite. Because if that department needs one more office or a couple more workstations, they're outside
So I think that's a great question, and based off of the programming meetings and the way the existing space works, we did do many offices, and that was the intent of if an employee is coming to talk about benefits, then they're in the benefits specialist office. If an employee is coming to onboard, then they are typically in that HR area. So this is really the initial design, and based off of the feedback, we can certainly make some tweaks and go back and change some things. The other thing that we've asked Cordigan and Clark to do is find some comparable spaces so that if anybody wants to visit some spaces that are similar to this, because these designs are obviously very different from what our current reality is. So I know for me, it would help me visualize some of these spaces by finding some comparable spaces and going to visit. So the intent tonight is to collect the feedback. So the conversation is great. And what I would say too is beyond this meeting, continue to provide information to me, feedback, and we can continue to make tweaks and adjustments throughout the way. So the interior of the space is all still a work in progress. I believe that our biggest product that we're looking for is square footage and kind of that footprint, and making sure that this footprint is something that we can envision as being that overall admin space as we move forward.
The initial, and this is the last comment I have, I think, the initial, when I first looked at this, thought is that student services has, well, I guess would be 2 offices. However, that's the most highly sensitive student information, one of the most highly sensitive student information departments. So even if they have admin, where are their admins sitting? Because they're also having those conversations about documentation, student challenges, special education, all of those disabilities, all of those things. So it just made me think, and we've also been talking about expanding student services to include more SEL services. So where does that fit into 2 offices? Is I guess that's what kind of made me start thinking, like, are we talking about a suite or are we talking about an office? Because there is no other place for them to go besides, I guess it would be on the first floor.
We will look at an organizational change if there is the need to add additional space, whether that's an office or a workstation. As Dr. Macy mentioned, that this is a work in progress. The approved program, we wanted to account for the overall square footage that we were looking with, the number of offices and workstations that were approved to show this is how it could fit into the space. And as this was also our first pass in showing the administrators, so we got some great feedback from their comments and how they would like to see things a little bit more organized in certain areas. So this will be continued to be developed. Right now, what we want to understand is there anything missing or unaccounted for that would really grow this footprint in size, that would impact the overall site, as well as the bottom line cost opinion. As Rick mentioned, we are starting to meet with the city of Ladue early next month to stay on schedule. So that site plan is a little bit more crucial than the organization of this, which I love the conversations, I love the questions that we've received, I love the feedback. We've kept great account of everyone that's asked a question, everyone that's made a comment, and we will be circling back to each of them.
So real quick, along the student services component, I do want to add that understanding that families that visit student services, typically it's sensitive in nature and we want to make sure that we respect their privacy. The admin entrance would be accessible there. That would include a buzzer where somebody from the outside could come in, we could buzz them, those families could come in, use that elevator right there as directed by student services, and then go downstairs where that back hallway could be sectioned off if there was a large PD event, and really create that access without going in that front entrance on the first floor and/or walking through the entire building in order to get to student services. So that is one component that was a direct result of understanding, discipline hearings could be facilitated in that bottom meeting room there. Family meetings could be facilitated in that back area without walking that family through the crowded spaces and some of those busy spaces.
I appreciate that, Jeff. And I don't want to misspeak for Director Lee, but I think it was that in the space itself, looking at administrators in student services and an admin assistants in student services, that an admin assistant may be having a conversation equally important and private, and so what that space looked like. So I think, again, when we both looked, and I don't want to, again, misspeak, that the space itself looked smaller for an equally, if not more impactful arena of privacy, just in that top section. So I think that was the query as much is how to ensure that an admin assistant having a private conversation has a space to do that doesn't involve going back downstairs or somewhere else, because it's much like having an onboarding or a conversation with somebody around their needed medical leave. How does that space look? And again, I think to the point earlier, it's in progress, but I didn't want that lost as well in Director Lee's prompt. So
Definitely take that into account. We appreciate the feedback.
I have a couple quick questions. I'm going to piggyback off a couple. This is unrelated. Dr. Macy, can you tell us the community education office, was that feedback from, we didn't hear feedback about that, so what's the reason or thought behind having it's small, but that space?
So all of the offices, I believe, are 12 by 12. So
No, I'm sorry. Currently, community education is kind of throughout with student services, and I guess in terms of some high school and middle school administrator help also. Would that be a separate space? It doesn't seem that we have someone that would currently live in that office, I don't think.
So that's where that future growth and that flexibility comes into play. So
that's an open office for growth. It's not relabeled at community education, but I'm not missing an employee that I haven't met yet.
No, we don't currently have an employee in that space.
Okay, so then piggybacking off of that, I'm just going to throw something out there. Is there plumbing that would support a small shower, bathroom area, locker, small in the upper second floor along the wellness lines? I know we do have an incoming superintendent who plans to be very involved in inside and outside sports. And so I don't know if he ever wants to shower in his 15 hours that he plans to be at his office next year, but he may. I know Dr. Whipke didn't, Donna didn't, but the previous superintendent did. It was put in for a reason.
Yes, the question was asked multiple
I
times.
do, but at home.
Currently, the desire.
Dr. Macy may or may not be wearing pads at some point during his workday.
But we are leaving opportunity for one to be added. We have had many projects that have started with, no, we don't need a shower, but as the plan progresses, a shower is then requested. So there is opportunity.
Where would that go?
Probably downstairs in the wellness area. We would kind of expand that a little bit more. There's already a sink down there, and it's adjacent to the multi-family or multi-stall restrooms and the small unisex that would be utilized by the board and by people who are meeting in that area on a private matter. So we have the access to plumbing, and we have the area to
And it would be a single stall shower, or you can have more than 2 showers? I mean,
probably a single stall.
Just because we're not going to have lots of people. It's not going to be a private shower suite for anybody.
The space doesn't necessarily double, it triples, it quadruples the need as soon as you start adding back-to-back showers. So yes, one would be sufficiently adequate for the number of people that are residing in this office space on a day-to-day basis.
Okay, and then stick with me. So I assume there was feedback. I know you talked at length with the different administrative heads of the departments about proximity and so was there an overarching feedback that all 5 departments should be on the same floor, and that it didn't, because to kind of echo off of what Marissa said, for a few reasons, I don't love that we're going to have an employee by his or herself or their self alone, sort of as their station at the first floor. I think that doesn't do that individual a ton of service for a few reasons. But also, with that being said, I don't hate some of our administrators maybe being closer to the first floor. If you were to take this record storage and furniture storage and even maybe the wellness and media lab in that meeting room, and you flipped that with like superintendent, business, and HR, and move them to the first floor, is that feedback you got that was an absolute, we need to keep them on the same?
Right.
Or?
We did present an option that split the departments up.
Okay.
And it was a nice ideal to have everyone on the same floor.
Okay.
Was our
So we weren't privy to
our
those
immediate
conversations.
feedback. Now, that door's not closed. If this is something that we want to explore further, we can always do that. The square footage of the building doesn't change. What it does is the 2 levels become more equal in square footage, instead of the upper floor being a little bit larger than the lower floor.
And is that like an aesthetic thing, or?
There is the challenge with the grades and getting
Not having
everyone
windows.
good natural light.
Not having windows on that bottom,
We
the bottom floor.
understand that those in the lower level of the current administration center feel like they're in a basement, and this would be a replication of that we're trying to avoid.
Okay.
And I think too, one thing is we currently have the professional development space boardroom set at 138 seats, and that's 138 comfortably. So do we believe that that is an ideal number, or is that something that we could see shrinking a little bit and or expanding? Is there any feedback on the size of that particular space?
How many people were here tonight? I mean,
And we've gotten bigger, but.
it's not much.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that this is probably the biggest. Oh, thank you, Pablo.
I would actually defer to Dr. Crabtree on what is the largest number she would have for PD? Would you and for opening convocation, that's what about?
No, that won't be
You
there.
would still do it in the Performing Arts Center. Okay.
And we're not losing this space entirely.
So I guess too, I have a question. When we first started talking about the dimensions of the boardroom, we had talked about in comparison, well, I had mentioned in comparison to the Olivet City Hall, their boardroom. Is this that same size?
It's a little bit larger.
It's
Right
larger.
now, Olivet, when they're set up for their main, I counted like 120, 122. Again, it's a comfortable situation, so it could handle more, but this is comparable, slightly larger.
Okay.
Excuse me, does this school board room have a natural light going into it?
Absolutely. The entire bottom plan south wall would be a window wall overlooking that fields and wooded area.
Any additional questions?
I actually had one more, and I apologize if it sounds like we're backtracking, and maybe we've just had this conversation for such a long time I don't remember. But I recall early on in the conversation, Dr. McKenzie had expressed some concern about how much time she currently already has to spend in the print shop. And like this admin center doesn't appear to have space for that, so I presume we're going to be keeping that in the current building, which I also thought we were mothballing. So I'm a little bit confused about whether that issue has been resolved, and if so, I apologize that I missed it.
So what we've talked about taking and repurposing some space in the facilities department. So we currently have a paint chamber where all of the paper comes and all of the orders go out. So we would actually move the print shop down to the maintenance area and create some efficiencies there and remove some of the equipment that we haven't used for 20 years.
Okay, thank you.
And also, Dr. Macy, maybe I dreamt this. The suite upstairs at the fifth grade center that houses some CNI, we were gonna move some printing, no? Okay, never mind, just kidding.
No, we would take that space and begin looking at how to convert that back to student space.
And I also don't see the technology department.
They would remain in
They would stay at the high school.
Yeah.
And this is where the majority of the student devices are housed, and we are in the process of moving some of the server equipment over here as well. The existing admin center houses some of that server equipment. We've been creative during some power outages over the last couple years.
Okay, and I believe that the last slide is about the field, so we'll move, are we ready to move forward to that? Or
We were gonna hold off on the field
Oh, okay.
conversation tonight. We
Okay.
don't have any new information
Got
unless
it.
there's questions.
Okay.
I just have one question, not necessarily the field itself, but this field access restroom. So I know you said one unisex ADA, one unisex, just normal restroom. How is that gonna be maintained? And, I mean, what does the access look like? I mean, is it just open all the time? And what is the barrier to keep people from, because you have a meeting room right next to it, the mechanical room, I'm assuming, to the other side. So what is that to keep people from gaining interest further into the building?
The access into the building is only going to be through the administration entrance that will be locked. There's no access from once you're inside that restroom area to get to the meeting or on the other side of the wall to where we're showing a potential rooftop unit. The access into the restrooms themselves, that's a process and procedure that we will be developing. It is intended that that would be an automatic locked door that remotely could be open when the campus knows that those fields are in use. And that, there would be some level of visibility, whether it's a camera on the exterior of the building right there. So it can be maintained visual access when needed. As far as the materials and maintain from a maintenance level, we're envisioning a little bit harder surfaces, CMU walls, resinous floor that could be easily just washed down into the floor drain. So these would be a little bit more institutional in nature than the restrooms that are inside the building.
I think another major feature of that is actually when our kids are here in class and up there, to be able to have access, to be able to use that as well, the PE classes.
I just know kids can be mischievous, and whether they're our students or not, if you have access to a building. So I was just my concern was like, are these concrete walls
They're
into
hard
that?
walls.
Because I know even when this building first opened, kids got in here and were on the roof and, just doing what kids do. So I'm just, just to make sure that this new shiny thing can maintain that without any other,
The wear and tear of the students, since this is primarily a more adult space, absolutely. Yeah, we'll treat this space differently than the remainder of the building.
So it seems like it would maybe be like the bathroom on the West Campus Plaza. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Any other questions, concerns?
So thank you for the feedback. Definitely taking notes, and we'll tweak and make adjustments. The other thing I would say is if something else comes up, please don't hesitate to reach out so we can continue to provide that conversation, that dialogue to Cordigan and Clark. And once they identify some spaces, we will reach out via the weekend update and set up some opportunities and reach out to see if anybody would like to visit some of the comparable spaces that they come up with.
So I just had a quick follow-up. Since you mentioned the next step is meeting with the city of Ladue, I guess, when does that take place? And then, I guess, when is kind of the projected next update on this? Like, when will we hit another milestone? Knowing that, like, I'm not going to hold you to it, but just when do we sort of expect the next step in this?
You know, like we mentioned, we're going to start that process with the city next month. There's several meetings. There's a variance. There's ARB, planning and zoning, city council meeting. So all those we'll start submitting in March, and then most of those meetings happen in April and May. So we're kind of timing that along with our design development phase. So at the end of June, we'll have completed design development. That's a really good milestone for the design process. We'll have gotten through all that process with the city. We'll have a more detailed design. That's usually our last cost estimate that we do as well. So that'll be a really good milestone to get to. And from there, you know, right now the schedule we showed that we're doing the whole package. There's some decisions we can talk about how the project is phased and those sorts of things. We'll have a lot more information to look at that point.
Has the city been receptive so far, or has this not been brought to their attention?
We met with them. We had a virtual meeting with them a couple weeks ago and went over the project, and it went really well.
Great.
Yeah, and we've also met with the fire department to see if they had any concerns with the overall site and the accessibility.
Great.
But in terms of schematic design, I would anticipate that as plans are adjusted and edited, we will push that information out via the weekend update. And then if we get close, we'll bring that finalized version to the board.
Thank you.
At what stage, and this is my last question, at what stage do we get into the environmentals, you know, the soil composition and all of that, which may cause, you know, additional?
We recently received the preliminary soils report, and so that's what we'll start looking through and understanding more in depth.
Okay.
But yeah, that's right away.
Okay.
Because not only does the civil engineer heavily rely on that, but our structural engineer does too.
Any other questions? Thank you so much for this presentation and for answering all of our questions.
Of course, we appreciate your time.
Thank you. Okay. Seeing we've come to the end of our agenda, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Thank you, Keisha. Thank you, Pablo. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you, everybody.